Hello, hello, everybody. I've just come on just a few minutes early just to make sure that we are working and everything is working fine. Um, for those who are here, welcome. Welcome to How to Manage Your Mind in 10 Minutes a Day. Sounds super simple. We're gonna go through it. Just let me know where you are joining me from. Say hi in the comments. I know if you're joining via YouTube, I think you need to sign in. If you are via Kajabi, I think it comes through automatically. So just pop a hi in the comments. I'll get it started. Welcome. And we will get started in just a few minutes. I will also actually put my Instagram handle on there for any private messaging you want to send me. Okay, so I think we are ready. I'm just so Diane is our facilitator today, so I'm just checking in with her just to make sure that everything is good. How is everybody doing? Excellent. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I think we are nearly ready to make a start. Hi, Emily. Hi, David. Hi, Suzanne. Great to see you all. Okay, so I know some of you know me from my my monthly free webinar series. For those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Safia Dabar. Welcome to the masterclass on how to manage your mind in 10 minutes a day. So in this training, we will be going through a system. We will be going through reframing stress. So how can we look at stress differently to leverage our brain in order to achieve what we want to? That's number one. I'm going to be taking you through the top 3 things you need to know about your brain. We'll then go through what I get asked in my clinical practice. So the main questions that I get asked, and I put this in because there have been some revolving themes, especially since the pandemic, and so I thought it would be a good idea to cover these. We will go through what I do daily and my 10-minute ritual, and I will speak to you about the stress management and resiliency training course if you are interested, and then we will end with some questions and answers, so you can ask me anything you like at the end. But what I would advise you do is anything that comes up for you, just pop it in the chat, in the comments, and we can go through it at the end. So literally ask me anything, and I would love to know where you guys are joining me from. So in the training yesterday, literally it was Australia, Malaysia, France, the US, so from everywhere. So it's always lovely to see who's joining. Right, let's get started. So, quickly, if you stay until the end and decide to work with me, there will be a special bonus. So try to stick with it until the end, and there's a little surprise for you. The other thing is we have an hour 15 together, okay? This has the potential to transform your way of thinking and potentially lead to a transformation in your life. So put away all distractions if you can, and let's do this. So try and focus and ask your brain, ask yourself, what do I want to get out of this? What do I want to get out of it? Because by doing that, we are focusing an area of the brain called the reticular activating system, which we will get into. And what that does, it acts as our filter. So if I set an intention for this session, then my brain will then seek out the answer. So if, for example, your intention is, I just want to learn a bit more about my brain, you will kind of almost put the antennae out there and focus in on that, because otherwise there's a lot. We're going to be covering a lot. So just quickly, just check in with yourselves and ask yourself, what is it that I want out of this? Okay. Now, when we think about stress, and when I ask my patients in particular, or participants of the SMART program, what is stress to you? More often than not, it is negative, okay? But I invite you today to look at stress differently. The definition I use is, it is a non-specific response. So non-specific because once that button is pressed, it sets off a cascade. It sets off a beautifully orchestrated chain of events that then mounts our stress response, okay? So whether it is a real threat or a perceived threat, once you press that button, it's on. So that's why non-specific. So it's a non-specific response to a demand. That is it. There is a demand, and the response is to meet that demand. Full stop. So stress can be negative, stress can be positive, stress can be neutral, okay? So once we start to look at our stress cycle, we can then start to almost have a bird's eye view of our life, almost be able to reflect on things differently and to look at things differently. And more importantly, to shift out of everything is being done to me and move into everything I choose. I choose what is happening, and I choose my thoughts. I choose my thinking. So the first exercise that I would like you to give a go, so for those who are ready and keen, pen, paper, and we're going to be doing an exercise called the energy battery, okay? So I'll give you a few seconds to get it all together, and I'll introduce it now. But first we will speak about our stress cycle. So this is how I see stress. This is how I teach the stress cycle. You have your physiological response on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. Okay, so there is a stressor. It mounts a response, so it triggers our stress response. And for those who may be aware, this is our sympathetic nervous system. So this is our fight, flight, freeze response. Which involves sympathetic nervous system, which is adrenaline and noradrenaline, as well as our hypothalamic pituitary axis. So these are areas of the brain that are responsible for the release of cortisol. And together, these will mount our stress reaction, okay? So we have activity that goes up, we hit a peak, and then we then come down into a relaxation response, and then ideally we hit our baseline, and so we have then completed a stress cycle, right? So if there is a stressor, we go up, we then come down, we hit our baseline, stress cycle complete. There is therefore no ill effect of that, right? There is no accumulation or excess stress there because we've hit our baseline. So all is good. And if anything else, it's a good thing. It builds resilience because, for example, if I've undergone stress and I've been able to recover and go back to my baseline, then what does that say in my brain? Well, it says I can deal with it. It says it builds resiliency. I have been able to manage this stressor. So then the next time I know that I am able to deal with it. So it's actually good for us. And I often use the washing machine analogy. So if I ask you, do you have a washing machine? You say yes. I would say, well, how do you use it? And you might say, well, I take my load of washing, I put it in, I press the start button, and I allow it to complete its cycle. It stops, I wait, I then remove my washing, and I repeat the next day. Perfect. That washing machine will last you. If you come and ask me, Safia, how do you use your washing machine? I might say to you, well, I take my load, I put it in, I press start, I just allow it just to start to slow down, and once it's safe, I'll take it out and then put another load in, and I'll keep going, and I'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing. How is my washing machine going to fare out after a few years? It's going to start leaking, the lights are going to start blinking, it's just not going to be very happy because I have not allowed it to complete its cycle. Okay, so start to think of your stress as an up and then down, and you hit your baseline. Now you all have one of these, right? When we are using our phones or our devices, there is an element of planning that goes into it. So if, for example, I know that I'll be going on a long trip and needing lots of apps and everything else, I will take my charger, I will charge my phone, I will think when will I be able to charge, and I will be mindful of this usage, right? At the moment, I'm on 82%, so I know, okay, I can use it. But when it comes to ourselves, have you ever asked yourself, am I charged? When will I be able to charge today? Have you ever asked yourself, what percentage do I think I'm on right now? Why do you expect to use your physiology, your brain when it is not charged? Why do you expect it to work optimally when we do not charge it? You never see me shouting at my phone because it's dead, because I haven't charged it. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we don't think about charging ourselves, yet we think that we can function without. So for this exercise, for those who have pen and paper at the ready, I want you to look something like this, is draw, so we have two columns with a negative and a positive, okay? And I want you now to just look at your day, okay? You can start with today, but just look at your day and think, just think from beginning to end, what are the positive charges to my day? Okay, so what are the positives? What is charging me? What depletes me? So what are the negatives? What is removing or sapping the energy out of me? And if you can, ascribe a charge. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be, completely accurate, but think about, okay, so when I do this, it charges me 10%. When I do this, it depletes me. So we are thinking about what charges you the most, what depletes you the most. And this is day-to-day stuff. Okay, so yes, holiday in the Maldives right now would charge me just perfectly. But day-to-day, practical activities is what I'm looking for. And I also want you to ask yourselves, and even put it in the comments, is what percentage charge would you say you are right now? Okay, and I'll give you a few minutes to finish this activity. So by mapping this out, what you are doing is, by default, taking a step back and approaching this as an observer, as a curious detective. I always like to use that term because it's no judgment. It's no, I should be doing this, or it's just, okay, this movement charges me, this movement depletes me, this way of thinking charges me, this relationship dynamic charges me or depletes me. And you can have things in both columns as well. But by starting now to have a bird's eye view, to take a step back, we start to approach things differently. Okay, you start to regain that control and that power that comes back to you as opposed to the external. How is it going so far? Are you all with me? Okay, very good. Okay, so one more minute and let me know how you find that exercise. Okay. Right. So, hopefully you've got an idea now And you have just completed the first step, okay? So the first step is, what am I dealing with? What are my charges? What are my depleting activities? And now we start to look at that stress equation, that up and down, in a better state, in a more aware state. And more importantly, the reticular activating system that I mentioned initially has now been activated. So I'm hoping now you go about your days and your week and later on by looking, by seeing, this is charging me, this is depleting me. Okay? And then the aim is to do more of the charges and less of the depletions. Or you can keep the depletions as they are, i.e. keep using your phone as you do. As long as you're charging it regularly, you are enabling yourself to complete that stress cycle. And so the negative effects of stress are less likely to take their toll and cause wear and tear. So you are in the right place for this masterclass if you are struggling with too much noise. There's just too much going on. You want to understand these thinking patterns. You want to not be at the mercy of overwhelm and anxiety. You want to possibly learn to like yourself a little bit more. And this is where understanding your brain will help. Or maybe it is that you just crave a little bit more stillness. You just want to be able to learn about meditation or mindfulness that everybody's talking about, just to be able to stay in the present. If you find yourself ruminating about the past or catastrophizing about the future, then really you're nowhere, because neither of those are within reach. All we have is the right now. All we have is just this moment. Or if, like me, several years ago, you're just on a treadmill. You're just hamster wheeling your way through life, unaware, unconscious, just going through one thing to another, not having any respite or not any ability to see the wood from the trees. And if this is keeping you, and also wanting to know, what is keeping me stuck? Why this magnet is drawing me to this hamster wheel? Why am I distracted and unfulfilled? We will try and go through some of these. But quickly, just let me know, just so I can gauge from the group, what resonates the most with you. So is it that you are keen to have a look at the thinking aspect and the thoughts? Is it to be able to access more calm, get off the treadmill, or everything, all of the above? So let me know, and just so that I can tailor things. So all of the above, thinking, overwhelm, okay, interesting, okay, wonderful, and okay, fine. Now, haven't introduced myself properly. My name is Dr. Safia Dabar. I am a doctor in London. My first degree was in neuroscience. I then worked through London hospitals in various medical specialties: pediatrics, emergency medicine, obstetrics, gynecology, medicine, surgery. I then did some academic research and then did a public health master's. And I subsequently went to Harvard to study stress management. So my special interest has always been in neuroplasticity and neuroscience, but I certified over a couple of years at Harvard to run their stress management and resiliency training course. So these are run across the US, but I'm the only doctor, I believe, at the moment running them in the UK. In terms of medicine, I think that a functional, holistic, whole person approach is the best approach. And stress management for me is one of those key pillars, because when we target things upstream in terms of how we are handling stress in our body, and we target that part, then it will automatically dictate how stress manifests in our body and the effects of it. And certainly in the hundreds of people that have gone through the SMART course now with me, they have had reported both objective measures as well as reported measures of their stress parameters, but also autoimmune markers, blood pressure, obesity, everything. Oh, IBS, everything. So I want you to think about whatever is happening downstream in your health. So any medical conditions you may have are linked and are related and can be modulated via modulating your stress response. So when you are thinking about, for example, high blood pressure, when I am in a stress state, what happens to my blood pressure? It goes up. So if I meet a tiger in front of me right now, my blood pressure will go up. That is fine. That is appropriate for that situation because it has saved my life. However, if I am having perceived stress on a daily basis, that's going to shoot my blood pressure up every day. After a couple of decades, what happens? Hypertension and ischemic heart disease. So you see, it's not just about my genetics or what obviously nutrition is very important, and all of these things will factor in. So what I'm saying is do not ignore your stress pathways because they are the answer in improving a lot of things. So, and I know this because I burnt out. I burnt out doing something I loved. I was hamster wheeling, but happy, but burning out. And so doing the SMART course has enabled me to learn about a roadmap. I know what works. Use your neuroscience and leverage it, and you will be able to buffer it. So, before we start, just close your eyes if you can, as long as you're not driving or operating heavy machinery. I'll always add that because you hear that, you know, when you're taking, for any medication, it just makes me laugh. Anyway, imagine what life would look like or life would feel like if you took the power away from your thoughts. And if you could choose them. So the catastrophizing, the overthinking, the overwhelm, the anxiety, imagine taking the power, the meaning out of it. Imagine knowing, having this inner core belief that you can overcome stuff, right? You can bounce back. And imagine being able to disassociate from the past, to allow the future to unfold as it does, and stay in the present. Imagine. Sounds pretty good to me. So by gaining a basic understanding of the neuroscience, you are then able to manage your thinking because you know what it represents, you know where it's come from, you know what these patterns and these dynamics are. You can then learn relaxation strategies and embed them. So this is the energy battery exercise where you just keep charging your phone and it's good. And then you are able then to develop an adaptive perspective, which then ultimately leads in resilience. So what we will be covering today, I would like to tell you impart 3 things you need to know about your brain. We've touched on one of them already, the reticular activating system. Number 1, number 2, negativity bias. And then number 3 is, what is your brain's driving force? We will then cover the Q&As that I get in my practice. I will take you through my daily ritual. We will touch, if you are interested, on the SMART course, and then we will end with some live Q&As. So save your questions, but you can pop them in the chat so that you don't forget. Now, the reticular activating system. This is a group of neurons in your brain that serve as your lens. Now, if anybody is a keen photographer, then you will know that a lens, you can have a landscape in front of you, and depending on where you point your lens will determine the kind of picture you're taking. So you could literally have 100 photographers, each taking 100 different pictures, right? So your lens, your filter, will determine what you pay attention to. It will determine what you give importance to, and it will determine how you see things. This is linked to your primary caregivers, the attachment to them, any trauma in life, your experiences, how your relationships, all of these things will serve to determine if your lens is wide or narrow. So am I seeing, for example, I can think the world is an unsafe place. The world is a terrible place. Well, trust me, I can find lots of evidence to prove that belief system. Similarly, I can say to you, well, actually, the world is a wonderful place. There is lots of good still in the world, and I can then prove that to you also. So how you see things, the filter and the lens you use is a major determinant on how stress will impact you, and therefore the wear and tear it can have on the body, the inflammatory response that can ensue. So ask yourselves, is my lens narrow or wider? Okay. It's a very, very important thing, because people often say, seeing is believing, right? It's not. Believing is seeing. So my beliefs will determine what I see, what I pick up on, what I focus on, and therefore my experience of life. So number one, know that your brain cannot handle all the impulses coming at it from its five senses. So it starts to say, well, this is not important. You know, if I asked you, well, how many red cars are on your street? Why do you need to know? Safia, I don't need to know that. But trust me, tomorrow you will start, because I've mentioned how many red cars do you have on your street? You're now going to pick them up. But before that, it was irrelevant knowledge. It really didn't matter unless you wanted to buy a red car. But now that you have kind of clocked in, you're then going to focus on it. So really just look at your life and think, what do I choose to focus on? What do I choose to filter in or filter out? And one of the smart participants, incredible guy, huge, but he was stuck. He was being kept stuck by past beliefs of essentially, I'm not good enough. And so he was working hard, he was disciplined, he was doing everything. But when it came to it, there was a lot of self-sabotage. And so it just nothing was happening. And he was not aware of this pattern. He was not aware of this at all. But then he did the SMART course and literally transformed his thinking. I isolated and identified these limiting beliefs and was able just to get rid of them, and now is flying. He's reaching his potential, and I've put space for a reason. Now, number thing you need to know about your brain. We are wired for survival, okay? So we have a propensity to veer to the negative. Why? Because it protects us, and it keeps us alive. So I am tilted, we are all tilted to the negative. So when, for example, if this famous tiger were to come into my home office, I am automatically going to be more judgmental. I'm automatically going to recognize it as a threat. I'm automatically going to be more narrow-minded, right? This has just helped me save my life. If, however, the tiger walked in and I was like, oh my God, you're so beautiful and I love your whiskers and this is so lovely, not helpful. Not helpful for me. And maybe I'm now dead. So the negativity bias is a bias towards the negative, because we are forever scanning for threats in our environment, and something is generally, it's like, you know, the whole term proven innocent, what is it? Proven guilty before innocent, something like that, the innocent guilty thing. It's negative and then positive. So it's like if you've gone to a restaurant 5 times and had an amazing time, loved the food, but one time have had a bad experience. That one time is going to trump the others, and you're probably going to think, I'm not going back to that place again. Okay? So a negative experience will have a greater weight, will have greater impact on the brain, on your neurophysiology, than a positive one. So this is just how it is. But instead of fighting and resisting, what we do then is to counter this we sensitize ourselves to the positive. So we relive the positives, we are more aware of them, so that when the negative hits, we can then rectify the scales a little bit more. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Because when we think about our thoughts and how many thoughts we have a day, you have up to 60,000 thoughts a day, 80% of which are negative. Right? This is for survival, remember. 80% of these are negative, 90% of these are repetitive, on repeat, like your Spotify playlist. So by knowing this, by being aware of this bias, you don't have to beat yourself up about always, I really should be thinking more positive, I really should be more grateful, I really should this, and I can't, why am I always like this? You don't need all of that. That is irrelevant, that is not useful. Know that there is a negativity bias, so we can go into the whys, or we can work with it and sensitize the positive. So start to notice the positive, start to shift your reticular activating system, your filter, your RAS, to start to notice the other part of the landscape, which you prefer. So stop being hard on yourself. It's your brain's function. Start noticing everything around you. Know what you have previously focused on. So I might be focusing on the speck of dust that I can see and, the stuff on the floor, or I can focus on the art on the wall, right? Same landscape, but different view. And this brings us to the most important underpinning thing that you need to know about your brain. Okay, it is not there to make you happy, to make you feel content, more fulfilled. No, your brain is there to ensure your survival and the perpetuation of the species. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that we are wired for connection. We are wired for food, because if we didn't enjoy food, we wouldn't risk our lives back in the day to hunt for it. Now everything is, on a Deliveroo app. But if we didn't enjoy the process of eating, then we would basically starve to death. We are wired to conserve energy, and we are short term. So, and then the most important thing is we want to be safe. We are designed and wired to move towards what is safe. And generally what is safe for the brain is what is familiar. So remember, we have connections that are set up. So when we experience things, or thought patterns set up neuronal connections in the brain, right? When these have been run a few times, they become easier, right? They become embedded. So we do it again and again. It's like your commute to work. The first time you may have been checking, where am I going? The 100th time, you don't even need to think about where you're going, right? So when you are creating a pathway, once your brain knows the outcome, even if it's not good for you, even if you're in a relationship that doesn't serve you, it's familiar. So the brain knows the outcome, and therefore it's safe. So whenever we start to move away from familiar to unfamiliar, the brain kind of freaks out a little bit, because it's trying to keep us back there. So knowing that you are primed for this, you can almost reset and think, okay, I'm scared to do this new thing, but actually it is better for me, right? It is better for me. So I know that my brain is going to want to keep me safe. It's going to want to keep me stuck here. But now I know that I can almost override that and do it anyway. So the top 3 things that you need to know about your brain are the fact that you have a filter, you have a lens which will dictate what you see, what you focus on. You have a negativity bias, and you are primed for survival and for the perpetuation of the species. So what I'm trying to say is, use this information. Don't fight it, don't resist it, and certainly don't use it to feel worse about yourself or to shame yourself or to do any of that. Everything you did, every thought pattern, every behavior or inaction started as a protective mechanism, started to keep you safe or to avoid pain, or possibly less so, but to seek pleasure. Okay? So by understanding, by taking a step back and seeing your wiring and your patterns and your dynamics, then you will take the power away from them and cease to be so shackled by them. So basically what I'm trying to say is learn about your neuroscience so you can leverage it. Know what you want. Think about what you want and how you want to live. Anything is possible. Any thought is possible. So don't just rely on willpower or just feeling like it. Be strategic. And in terms of what I get asked the most, so when I'm talking about stress, or when patients are coming to me with stress-related illnesses or just general stuff, like anything, I tend to get asked about these kind of themes. And a lot of it is, well, you know what, my family's like this, everybody's anxious, my parents are anxious, my siblings are anxious. This is just how I am, Safia. I mean, it's just how I'm wired. This is just me. How can I really change? I can't go against my genetics. Well, we used to think that, yeah, if your genetics are your genetics, then yeah, not much you can do about it. And by your mid-20s, everything's fixed. But no, 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 no. Neuroplasticity is the malleability of our brain, is the flexibility, is how our brain changes and interacts with our environment, our experiences. And this happens throughout our lifespan. We have neurons that we get rid of, we then grow more, and it all depends. If you use it, the Hebb's law, neurons that fire together stay together. So you use a thought pattern, a dynamic, a habit, you keep doing it, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. You don't, it gets weaker and weaker and more then dormant. So absolutely, yes, you can change. Once you are aware, once you see what the beliefs are, what the patterns are, then you can. So absolutely. How is stress linked to disease? So again, I get asked, well, Safia, yes, okay, I have high blood pressure, but how is that related to my stress? Well, the underpinning thing is all about inflammation. So when we mount a stress reaction, so when that tiger comes in, my body is inflamed. Okay, my body, I want my immune system to be inflamed, my blood to be sticky, my blood pressure to go up, my heart rate to go up, everything. I want everything revved up because I need to save my life. I need to either fight, flight, or freeze. Now, this is fine when the threat is real, but the threat, imagine when it's not real. Imagine when it's just an email or an argument or something else. I am mounting that whole inflammatory response for nothing. And so over time, that will then link to absolutely every disease we know. So by reducing or by reappropriating your stress response, you then can reduce all of that burden. And then when I come to talking about relaxation strategies and meditation and mindfulness and different things, I have a group of people who are just like, but Safia, I know I want to. I really want to, but my brain just doesn't. I just can't get into it. It doesn't work on me. And I always say, look, you're very special. You are a unique individual, but you are not immune to the effects of meditation. You are not immune to the effects of mindfulness. What we need to work on is your expectations. And it could be that you are wired because you are stuck in your stress response. And so we need to unstick to then be able to come back down that curve as we discussed in our stress cycle. So that's what I tend to get asked in terms of stress. Now, how is everybody doing? Okay, I hope you're all okay. Now, I invite you to try something out with me. Okay, if you're up for it. So if you are at home, if you're multitasking, then please come back to me. If you're driving, then maybe just listen. But otherwise, this is what I use on a daily basis. Since the pandemic, when it first started, and being on the front line, it was like, oh my God. Potential risk to your family, to your friends, to your patients, not knowing. Anyway, it was just an interesting, shall we say, experience. I asked myself, okay, what do you need? What do you need to navigate this? What do you need to prevent burning out? What do you need to try and deal with this whole uncertainty, with all this new, research coming out every day, all these government statements, and it was just a lot. And now, what do you need when things are opening up and everything, right? What do you need? So I needed a cocktail of dopamine. That's my get up and go. That's my feel good. I also wanted some oxytocin. This is the cuddle hormone. I wanted to feel connected to myself and to others. I did not want to go into a fear state and isolate. I wanted serotonin, the feel good. I wanted endorphins as well. And I wanted to stimulate my vagus nerve. This is my relaxation response king, okay? And so this was my ritual. So if you're ready, let's try it. So what I would like you to do, and I'm going to talk you through it, so I'll give you just a second to get comfortable, and then when you're ready, I want you to close your eyes. Bring a soft smile to your face, and now just take a deep breath in and out. Just forget about everything else for just a few minutes. We're signaling to your brain that it's just time for a little bit of buffering, a little bit of relaxation. So allow your breath to take over. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, unwrinkle your forehead. Allow your eyes to sink deep into their sockets, and allow yourself to drop your shoulders and sink even deeper into your chair. And just follow your breath. In and out, like waves coming over you. In and out. Allow it to be deep and effortless. Come back to me. And if you're having thoughts, that's absolutely fine and absolutely normal. Just allow them to pass. And now I would like you to bring to your mind the image of someone, something, someplace that always brings you joy, that always brings a smile to your face. And when you have it, I want you to relive it. So take yourself back there. Tune into all of your senses and imagine you are back with that person, that pet, that object, that landscape. Take yourself back. Breathe it in. Allow yourself to re-experience that joy and feel yourself flushing. Feel your brain flushing itself with some oxytocin and serotonin. Relive that joy. And now I would like you, for those for which it's morning, I would like you to set an intention for your day. So this is where we focus our lens. And I want you to give yourself one thing to do today that you are committing to, that you are promising to do. One thing only. The most important thing that you need to do today. Finally, ask yourselves, when will I be able to charge myself? You know when you'll be charging your phone. You may have done it overnight. You may have a car charger, an office charger. When in the day, find a couple of pockets when you will be able to charge yourself. So just think about this. And then I would like you to bring another big smile to your face. And finally, it is not enough for us just to think different. We need to shift our physiology. So I want you to stand up now, come back to your room, open your eyes, and start to move. Now I can't see you, so have a little bit of a dance. Move your muscles, and we want to get the blood flowing. Okay, so this is for our endorphins, this is to release some blood, get the blood circulating, and have a stretch. Come on, just for 30 seconds. I'll try not to dance too much. Thank you, Diane. So move, everybody. Come on, just for... So big stretches. Have a little bit of a dance around your room. It's okay. It's all okay. It's all okay. Okay. So that was not even, I don't think it was even 5 minutes, okay? But if you do that every single day, 10 minutes, and then I've put here, I have to get a mnemonic for this, but I've then put lastly, if I'm kind of trying to wake up, or I'm trying to do something, or if it's a cold shower, or, you know, a blast of cold water, 5, so saying out loud to yourself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I go, and then you're not allowing your brain to be like, oh, no, hang on, don't do that, you just then... That ritual has helped me a lot. I focused my brain on one thing I need to do, my intention for the day. I've kind of set it. So during the pandemic, it was, I am safe, my family are safe, I am going to give the best care that I can today, right? I am going to, whatever it may be, okay? When am I going to charge? Okay, well, I have a break, a 5-minute break, I'm going to go for a walk. What is on my list? What charges you? What is on it? So when am I going to have time to just do a mini meditation or a breath work or move or just shift my physiology so I'm not stuck all the time, especially if you're working from home. Oh, the tension and everything else. We're not born to sit all day. So that is essentially what I did every day, morning and evening, and it really, really, really helped because I wasn't overwhelming myself. I was giving myself one thing, and I wasn't allowed, and obviously I needed to do more, but by doing that one thing, by setting myself a goal, by meeting it, I then started to create the belief of I can follow through. I follow through. I do things. What I say I get done, I will get done because I was just focusing on one thing. So when I did it, I would then get a boost of confidence or a boost of energy, and then I would look to the next thing. So you see how it's then a reverse engineering way to get through your to-do list without feeling overwhelmed. Okay? Now, if you are wanting to know more, then stay on. I'm going to give you a roadmap for resilience and how to design your journey. Because your difficulties, whatever is going on in your life, whether you overcome them is not determined by the actual challenge, but rather by you. By your willingness to believe in your own ability, by your ability to take yourself seriously and to prioritize yourself, okay? And always come back to that imagine slide. What would it look like if I weren't stuck in, autopilot, if I weren't stuck in catastrophizing? And when I think of catastrophizing, Ginny was one of the smart participants that in the group work. And she said she was pretty much living on autopilot. difficulty sleeping, and she mentioned she was living, she was alive, but she wasn't. What did she said? I was alive, but I wasn't living, or I wasn't enjoying my life. She did the SMART course, and all of a sudden she thought, well, actually, this catastrophizing are suggestions, and this is where it comes from. And so now, through her work, and she works with children and runs a mindfulness program, she's able to connect with them on a much deeper level and is able to access presence, to access that calm, that right now. And she's an incredible person, a true inspiration I've learned so much from. So, this is not just for SMART, this is for life in general. Remember, we can stay the same. Okay, so from James Clear's book, I don't know if you know it, Atomic Habits, he talks about 1%. If you just improve 1% every day in a year, completely different. If you stay the same, then it might just go down a little bit. So we can stay confused, get the same results, same thought patterns, same habits, actions or inactions. Same. Or you can try something different. You can try something to lead to resilience. So start to tackle and manage your stress in a different way. A proven roadmap designed by Harvard, and then the world is your oyster. So I run their stress management and resiliency training courses, as I mentioned, designed by the Benson Henry Institute at Harvard, and run in conjunction with Massachusetts General Hospital there. In the course, the way it's laid out is, number one, you start to see, okay, what am I dealing with? We start to build and gain awareness, because otherwise we're in the dark. So that's number one. Then understand, but based on the neuroscience, what is my wiring? What are my habits? Who am I in stress? What are my early warning signals? You know, if I were to ask my phone, well, it's when the light starts to go yellow that I know that it's not, or when it heats up. Learn true active relaxation strategies. These will make everything in life a lot easier. And then you start to develop adaptive perspectives to antidote the main challenges, because it's not about eliminating stress. Stress keeps us alive. Stress is good for us. But it's about appropriating it, and it's about managing that inflammatory response. Okay, so the modules are, so you get, so they're all laid out in this beautiful 200-page handbook. So the modules are that I'm running, what is happening in my brain? So we cover the neuroscience. Number two is we cover sleep, because sleep is one of our main reboots and recharges, and it is very similar to what we want from the relaxation response. Who am I? Module number 4. Number 5 is when we start to look at the concept of an inner roommate. So what is this playlist that's happening in my brain? What are these thinking patterns that are on repeats? And then we start to shift with, well, how do I look at this differently? How can I develop an adaptive perspective? And then finally, what is resilience, and how can I increase it? Total value, more than £1,000. I think it's probably more. But obviously, because the reason I'm doing it also is I've been doing group sessions in Notting Hill in London, as well as one-to-ones, but there is reduced capacity. And given the pandemic, and given what I have seen in my clinical practice, a lot of issues have surfaced. And so online SMART is a way to make this accessible to everybody, so you can get started, and so we can kind of navigate the rest of this pandemic with a greater ease. So the modules on the online SMART, I will then support you through the process. So it's an 8-week program, and I'll be doing weekly coaching sessions and Q&As inside a private members group, as well as my spin on meditation. So for those who know me, my experience with meditation initially wasn't the best. So I kind of know. So if I can meditate, trust me, you can too. So I include all of those bonuses. And essentially, the SMART course will change your mind about stress. It increases your awareness, explains the neuroscience. It's not therapy. It's based on neuroscience. We learn about different relaxation strategies, all of this to buffer stress, reduce the inflammatory burden, reduce the wear and tear, and then transform your life, increase freedom from your thoughts, and just give you that kind of shift you from the victim to the creator, really. So for the Smart Silver course, so this is the standard online course, you get the weekly modules, so 8 weeks worth, the meditation bonus, as well as weekly Q&As with me in our small group, which is valued at nearly $1,900. But given what's happening, I have discounted it significantly, because what I have found over the last 2 years in the pandemic is no one is immune to this. No one. No one is immune to burnout, overwhelm, and anxiety. You could have the best setup in the world, trust me. In terms of some of the patients I see, they have absolutely everything on the outside. But if the internal is not addressed, then the external is not going to touch it. So the only difference between those who are able to navigate it and able to live life as it should be lived, I think, is experience and also knowing what works. So knowing how to leverage the neuroscience, okay? So, as I mentioned, it has been heavily discounted because of the pandemic, because it's the first launch, to $695. So you get all of that, including the handbook, for $695. So if you are interested, then feel free to click on the link below, which will take you through everything again, and you can join. We kick off on the 13th of September, and it runs for 8 weeks. Do not worry. You have the material for 2 years. You can go at your own pace. You can dip in and out. We will have our weekly sessions as well. So it is not necessary, you might think, oh, I'm not sure. You have it you can go at your own pace, right? So just remember that. And also what I've done is, because I don't think, I think you need to have a willingness and be in the right headspace. And so what I have done is I'm allowing people to try it. So you get access to the first 2 weeks. So the introductory module, you can learn about the neuroscience of stress and relaxation, try some of the meditations. And then if you're thinking, you know what, after 7 days, I'm not feeling this is not for me, no problem, refund, okay? Because there's no point in doing it if you don't feel you'll be able to access. And sometimes it isn't. So there is a 7-day guarantee, what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way. So the silver package, online smart, Harvard handbook, my personal guide to meditation, 8 weeks of live coaching and Q&As, all for $695 as a one-off. Or if you prefer to pay in installments and that's more feasible, then you can pay just £133 monthly for 6 months. Exceptional value, cheapest it will ever be. So if you are interested in the Harvard Stress Management Resiliency Training course, I would recommend it. If, however, like some of you have said, you want to kind of go in more, you really want to shift things, you really want to get out of this pandemic and just to kind of, manage your thinking or deal with any other issues that have come up, I have a gold package, and this is essentially what I've just described, plus a coaching session with me, where we literally look at, okay, where are you? What do you want? What is the issues? We also go into, I've attached a bonus module, so this is the inner child stuff, because our early experiences shape our later experiences. So to look into this relationship and to start to cultivate that awareness. And also a happiness planner journal. I love their stuff. I've worked with the happiness planner, and they have beautiful, beautiful journals. So this is just to help you along your gratitude practice, your journaling, and gaining awareness of that thinking. So this is totaling £2,225. So this is the Smart Silver weekly Q&As with me, a one-to-one coaching session, a lovely journal, bonus modules that I have now made 1,095. Yes, exceptional value. This is if you really want a more personalized approach and you really want to blitz it. So have a think. It is a wonderful course. Lots of people have benefited and it has transformed their lives. So I really, really, really recommend it. It was a complete game changer for me. And my first degree was in neuroscience. I knew nothing about stress, and it really takes a good burnout to kind of reassess your life. And I feel like this pandemic has also given us that, where we've kind of had to look at our lives again, where we have realized what is important, where we have realized what was previously buffering me, my distractions, and everything else. So the gold package you can pay as a one-off or again as installments if that is easier. Okay, so one last time. Silver, this is what you get. Online smart course, weekly modules, PDFs, audio files, meditations, rituals, everything that has been proven to help with stress management. The handbook, my guide to meditation, and a weekly Q&A and support throughout. Gold is all of that, plus a one-to-one session with me and the extra bonuses. Harvard did a study where they took a bloods from a group of people, and they looked at the genetic expression of inflammatory genes. So they looked at some genes and how they were expressed. Okay, so if they were pro-inflammatory, pro-oxidative stress. They then had these participants do 8 weeks of 20 minutes twice a day, meditation and relaxation strategies, and they retested their blood. They saw, and this blew me away and is the reason why I run this course, they saw a significant reduction in the expression of these inflammatory genes and in a reduction in oxidative stress, as well as feeling good and calmer and less reactive and not wanting to, kill people and all the rest. No, they didn't want to do that. But, just the general benefits of meditation, what they saw is a reduction of inflammation, reduction in gene expression. You don't need to know more. So whether you do SMART or not, re-evaluate your stress. See how you are handling stress in your body. It is imperative and it will help you in the long term as well as right now. So silver or gold, depending on where you're at, depending on how heavy you want to go. And in terms of what you will overcome, these are some of the things. So the fear, the power of your thoughts will reduce. The belief of I can't change, gone. Victim mindset, we start to shift out of that. Thinking it's you, that you are broken, that you are not enough, that you are damaged. Feeling stuck, that hamster wheeling. So all of these things and a lot more. Because Muhammad Ali is your limbic system. It's your brain wanting to keep you safe. So you need to know, we're not fighting that. We're not going to fight that. We're going to work with it. We're going to work with it to see how we can leverage the neuroscience. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't know, not sure, then just reassess your reasons. Is this your brain trying to keep you sane? Right? Remember that slide. Sane, stuck, familiar. Or are they true reasons? And this is for anything, okay? So anytime you are not sure, anytime you're on the brink of making a decision but you're not sure or making a shift, always ask yourself, write down, what are my reasons? And look at them and think, is this my brain just trying to keep me where I'm at? Or is this, I'm just on the brink of my comfort zone and making a shift, and actually I need to do this anyway? So well done. You've just done just over an hour with me. Well done, well done. If you know that you are interested, then please enroll. You'll get the bonus. You can download that 10-minute, my 10-minute ritual, so you can have it with you morning and evening. And we have time for some questions. So if you have any questions, I know there's a slight delay with the YouTube comments. The ones from the other portal are coming in, so I will go through those. But if you have any questions, then please let me know. Well done. Not, it's been yeah, well done for sticking with me. So I'll just give a few minutes for the questions to come in, and I already have some. Okay. Right, so asking about the SMART course. Yes, so this book is what they give in the States. It has, so I have kind of put my own spin on it. Now you will have this handbook, and no, you do not have to go through it at the same time. So this handbook is an aide-memoire and has everything you need to go through your kind of stress management. So what I say is the videos and PDFs will be kind of, you need to probably allow 10 minutes twice a day if you can for your own charging, and then probably an hour, minimum an hour, hour and a half a week to go through the materials and the exercises and the reflections. And this is really to start to increase awareness. The course starts on the 13th of September, but you have access for 2 years. Enrollment closes on the 9th of September, so next week. So there's a week to enroll if you are interested in this session. The next one will probably not be for another 6 months or so. When I have run them in my clinic, they've always been fully booked. There is currently a waiting list for the one-to-ones, and this is why I'm introducing the online version, just to get it out there. I hope that answers your question, David. Okay. Yeah, so the price has been heavily discounted because of the pandemic, and therefore the weekly installments as well. How would you start to manage your stress? Well, learn about your neuroscience first. Number 2 is start to tune in. So secondly, what I would say is awareness is the first thing. Okay, so start to just see yourself in a different light. Step back and adopt this kind of, what I mentioned again, a curious detective mindset, so that you are just observing. Nothing is bad, nothing is good. You are just looking. Different beliefs will have served you in different parts of your life. Okay, so depending on whatever you have been through and whatever your traumas have been, they will then, those specific beliefs may have kept you safe. But now it's about looking at life and thinking, what is serving me right now? Remember, you're choosing, right? You can either be the puppet or you can be the puppet master. You have the ability to control those strings. You may not think you do, but you do. You're just a thought or a couple of thoughts or a thought pattern away from that belief. Okay, so when you start to actually think, yeah, I can, then the rest, leave it, get help, see what has worked before. But the first step, that is yours to take. After that, you can do SMART, you can do anything else, but then it's kind of just then follow a proven roadmap. And the reason why I run SMART is because I know it works. It's prevented my burnout, right? And it's based on research. The trials are there to back it up. The research is there to back it up. And so when we look at the effects of meditation, yes, meditation has been around for thousands of years. But the difference now is we see what it does. So when you can put somebody in a PET scanner and see what it does and what meditation does to their brain, sign me up, please, right? That's when I was convinced, because it's not always easy to do. So it kind of really depends on you. But I would urge you to take some action. 1%. minutes, 1% a day. That's it, right? Don't try to overhaul everything and do everything. It's a very incremental, it's very cumulative. Some participants, literally all they do is, the neuroscience, and then they wait and see, right? But even if it's a tiny, tiny shift, it will improve your life, and it will then have bigger impact downstream. So but I'm more about thinking strategy, right? So what I need, what cocktail do I need? That's how I see things. Okay. Sorry, just a second. So this course was devised, so somebody asked about CPD, so is it accredited? It is devised by the Benson Henry Institute and Mass General, but it doesn't count for CPD per se. So it's so you will learn strategies, you will learn techniques that are based on the research, but it is not. It doesn't count for CPD if I think that's what you are getting at. So yeah, so someone asked, is it similar to it's you will be in a group, but so the live Q&As will be in a group, so it will be on Zoom with me. You can post your questions anonymously. So if you are having specific challenges, or if there are specific things, then you can bring them to me and I can address them in the group or separately. And it will be live Q&A. You will have the recordings of everything. So if you cannot, I know, so for the different time zones, you will have access to the material at any time, and you will have the recordings for everything. So you will be able to catch up. And obviously, I'm around, so, feel free to connect. I'm still in touch with all the SMART alumni. They still come to me with some of the coping logs and things like that. So it's not see you later kind of after 8 weeks, not at all. So we want to create a community. We want to navigate this life with as much joy and ease as possible, and also feel the feelings. I think that our expectations of life and how we should be sometimes keep us stuck and stifle us in terms of this great expectation. You're meant to feel your feelings. Never invalidate or question how you feel. We can question the thinking, because the thinking is as a result of everything else, our upbringing, our culture, our primary caregivers, all of that. But your feelings are chemical reactions, and they don't last long. It's the thoughts that are associated with them that then perpetuate them and either put us in a stress cycle or not. So start to have a look and reevaluate your stress. It will really, really help. Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up. Any last burning questions, you can pop them in now. I'll give it 1 or 2 more minutes. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram. I usually put some stuff up there. I'm trying to get better at it. And thank you again for your attention. Have a wonderful rest of day wherever you are. Thank you again, and I hope to see you on the other side. And I hope to be welcoming you to SMART very soon. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.